Well, hello, Wichita. I'm Councilmember Bryan Frye. And with me today is Scot Rigby, Assistant City Manager, Development Director of our Economic Development Division. So thank you for being here, Scot.
Thank you for the invite.
So city government is famous for acronyms. It's one thing I've had to learn over the years, and especially when it comes to economic development. Everything from CID, IRBs, STAR, and one that gets a lot of confusion is TIF. And so today we're going to talk about TIF, which stands for Tax Increment Financing. And we're going to helpfully educate everyone about what that is and how it's used and what it means for our economic development tool chest. So Scot, why don't you quickly give us a brief overview of what TIF is?
Sure. You're right on tax incremental financing. It's a tool that many cities, states, and counties utilize to help further development, whether it be public or private, principally for private development. It's really focused to improve challenged areas. That can either be blighted or other areas that have challenging situations. It provides funding to do, I'll call it horizontal improvements, whether it be streets, roads, infrastructure, in order to prime the area for development. And then the idea is if it creates, let's say, for example, $1 of property tax today, that freezes that amount, and all the tax and distance will continue to get that amount, but every incremental increase in the valuation for up to 20 years in Kansas is then applied to any of the debt utilized to finance those public improvements.
Right, and so most people think it's a new tax, and it's not. It's taking a baseline number, what that district is already generating.
Correct.
And then whatever incremental growth, because the property value increases, that number is captured for
Correct.
Those improvements.
Correct, absolutely.
Right. So when there is a project that wants to institute a TIF district, what has to happen? What are they looking for?
Most private developments are looking for assistance through a TIF to do street improvements around their development, infrastructure improvements. It may be a blighted area that has challenged streets or inadequate infrastructure, or it could be one of the common ones in urban settings are parking challenges. And so the developers come to us and say, how can we take this challenged area, put some public improvements, and then allow us to then prime the area for private development.
And I think that's the key part of this, is that it's an area that already has restrictions or challenges or limitations.
Correct.
But there's not a mechanism to do something otherwise. And it's not like our city budget has just millions of dollars available to improve everything, right? And so
Correct.
This is a way that a project can tap into that growth, because they're going to increase the property value once
Absolutely.
That project is done. And again, it's going to make improvement for the entire area.
Absolutely. And the public benefits, because there'll be public improvements that every day you and I or the
Right.
general citizen can utilize.
And the bottom line is it's increasing the tax value for what normally had been a blighted, underperforming area. And then again, the idea that a rising tide lifts all boats, that you get additional development around it that continues to grow everything.
Yeah, and one of the questions you often hear from people is saying, oh, you're taking my tax dollars away. And what we try and tell people is that initial tax that's already going on today, so again, that $1 that was already being generated is captured. That development will continue to pay that, but incremental will then go pay off any additional improvements provided to the area. So no city, county, other tax entity will be hurt by that new investment. They actually benefit from the growth that will occur.
So Wichita has had a few TIF projects, obviously. And there's still some more to come. I mean, again, this is something in our tool chest that we use. Maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the existing TIFs and how they're performing.
Sure. One of the most recent ones I think everybody has seen over the last 6-12 months is, I'll call it the Spaghetti Works project. It took an area and right in the heart off of Douglas and St. Francis area, took a challenged area, redid some apartments, which was called the former Spaghetti building, and then built about 75,000 square feet of new office and commercial. And then the benefit really of the TIF was it allowed us as a city to redo and enhance NASCAR Park. So the NASCAR Park we all enjoy, with the movie setting there for activities. You can do yoga in the park. That's one of the benefits. So the increase in property tax generation from that new development went to pay for those park improvements. Didn't impact our city budget because that was based on what that private development was going to generate. So the most recent one that we're seeing the impact of is the Chester Lewis renovation to that park. So these are two TIFs that'll benefit the public because of improved infrastructure, but then particularly a public park. So at the end of the day, that TIF, which is the Kansas Health Center, which is contemplating bringing in a private medical school, that additional generation would allow us to redo the Chester Lewis Park. A recent other one, which a lot of people focus on, is exactly what you see in the picture in the background, is the stadium.
Right.
Stadium, and that was just one mechanism that we're utilizing to help repay, not just the stadium, but the TIF will help pay a portion of the stadium, as well as provide street improvements, infrastructure improvements to a larger Delano area. So those are three of the most recent ones I think most people recognize.
And again, of the three that you spoke of between the NASCAR Park and Chester Lewis, we have immediate develop happening on them right now.
Correct.
In fact, NASCAR's almost everything's built out. And Chester Lewis, the DO school is building around it. The stadium one is taking a little bit longer. And we've had some other TIFs that haven't performed as well. And again, part of it is market driven and what the economy and how they're able to build. Speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so and this goes back to your question is, well, how does a TIF work? How does it get going? You simply just don't go out tomorrow and council say we're going to adopt a TIF. There is an incredible amount of due diligence financially from a city. So we'll use our third-party financial advisor to assess the development's potential. Can it really generate the investment that it projects? And as a city, we're very conservative on those numbers. They may say we're going to generate $3, and we say probably we'll be more conservative $1. And it gives a timeline. Now, obviously, nobody could have foretold the impact of COVID, which is obviously having an impact. But we go through that process in over 20 years, saying even with that short-term challenge of COVID, we still are very bullish. I'll stay for the stadium area. And on the stadium area, what we see is already between the EPC multifamily project just to the north, just up in this area, and the Hutton new headquarters, and then the new hotel going in, and then there's a Hayes Group that built a new development within there. And not even counting the new multimodal garage that'll go in. That is in excess of $70 million worth of new development that will immediately impact the TIF by creating new revenue coming to the city. So even though we look around and go, oh, there's still some green space, we anticipate that will take a number of years to fill in. But we're already seeing that initial investment.
Absolutely. And again, the common misperception, and we spoke about this earlier, is that the TIF project used taxes to build that private development. It's not. The increase is used to pay for the surrounding public investment, the infrastructure, whether it be helping with the Sycamore or McLean, parking for the stadium, etc. The dog park or the
new
park
rail to
itself
trails that's going through the new Hutton area.
So we're going to check to see if we have any questions yet. Megan's over there standing by.
We have some upcoming TIFs. The Riverside TIF is supposed to be right now scheduled for the November 10th City Council meeting. Could you speak a little bit to that TIF and what that project entails?
Sure, I'll take that one. So that's a project just north of, actually right close to Botanica and the golf course over there. I want to say it's close to maybe 40 acres total.
Yeah.
And that's proposed to be a residential development, principally 40 homes that'll go in that area. Prior to my time here, I know it used to be an old derelict hospital or some area up there. That has since been cleared. That was the blighted aspect of it. There'll be some public improvements with sewer and laterals to that. And so on November 10th, as part of the public process, there'll be a public hearing where the developer and the city will present the proposed TIF. And then the mayor and council will go out and take public comment from the community about what they feel about the project. And then ultimately, it'll come back at a future date after that for final consideration.
Yeah, what's important to realize about that project is that it was an extremely run-down, derelict facility that was privately held. The land was privately held. It wasn't city, even though it's adjacent to Sim Park. It wasn't part of our inventory. And this is going to take that. It already cleared the space.
Correct.
And that was an eyesore, and I know it was a problem for the neighborhood. And as part of this infrastructure, we're going to get some additional public access to our bike paths, a new trailhead that doesn't exist right now. So certainly some significant public improvement, as well as clearing some blight.
Yeah, I think as you hear from the park people, is that connectivity of the trails along the river. How do we continue that up north of the C2 area?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have just one more question. If a TIF is underperforming, what recourse does the city have?
Over the last few years, we have learned from previous challenges the city's had with previous developments, and we've become much more active on requiring new developments to take on a personal TIF responsibility. So if there's a TIF shortfall in our new agreements, we have the developers put a personal guarantee to backstop any TIF shortfall. So instead of coming out of the city coffers,
Right.
then the developer has to come up with the difference of what the annual shortfall is. Hopefully, the project gets back on track and performs, but up until that point, it's really on the burden of the developer to make up the shortfall.
Right. Well, again, this has been fascinating. I mean, most people don't think economic development and all these acronyms is fascinating, but it's a very important part of our tool chest. We've recently made some changes to our economic incentive policies that allows us more opportunity to hopefully continue to grow the city and make sure we're getting positive investment dollars to help us continue to fix infrastructure and take care of areas of blight and so forth. So TIF, I know it's sometimes confusing, but Scott and his staff is always ready to stand by and answer questions. You can certainly visit our wichita.gov/economic website to find all the answers you need to the questions, and if not, you can find Scott or me. We're always happy to answer any questions. So thank you for spending your time with us today, and I hope we'll see you soon. Thank you.